All right, welcome back to First and Short, your first place to get short bits of college football news and analysis. I'm Mashfik. This is my co-host.
Hi, my name is Aaron. Welcome to the show, guys.
Welcome, welcome. We just wrapped up a great week 2, so we're definitely going to dive into that. Before we get in there, though, definitely want to ask you guys, if you are enjoying the program, if you're enjoying the content that we're putting out. Like a video, subscribe to our channel, share a video, share something with your family member, or share something with a friend that you feel like could find some benefit in, or just enjoy some of our videos. So I appreciate that. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So for today's agenda, we're going to go into some of the week 2 games. There were some body bags, as we called them. There were some tune-up games, and there were some surprises. So we'll talk about all those. We're going to talk about how, we're going to keep ourselves honest, and we're going to let you know how we did in our picks from last week. And then we're going to get into Saturday, where we kind of go into which teams had the Saturday on Saturday. So, Aaron, why don't you kick us off here today? What were your thoughts about week 2?
Sure. So week 2. Overall, it looks like most teams use this week to, get right after a huge week 1, crazy week 1. We had some teams lose. And so they use this week to really, recalibrate and figure out who they are.
Yeah.
Really, some teams really push the button in the agenda and, put up 100 points and beat up some small schools, right? So some teams were shaky in week 1 and they use week 2 to clean things up. Some teams look better, some stumbled over themselves. But let's talk about some of the dominant wins, the body bags that you mentioned earlier. Let's get those out the way first. So, you have number 1 Ohio State. They went up against Grambling. And I don't know if you saw the head coach earlier this week. He even, quoted in an interview saying, "We know what we're getting ourselves into."
Oh,
They
really?
lost.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Yeah. So they lost 70-0. Not much of a surprise there. You saw number 2 Penn State. They beat FIU 34-0. There's a little bit of a slow start, but
Yeah.
they ultimately won that game.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama. Hey, I mentioned to you, Alabama fans, relax. You
Yeah.
guys will be back. Kalen DeBoer, Ty Simpson. They beat University of Louisiana Monroe 73-0. So just
Yeah. I wonder, I think like Kalen DeBoer definitely, the game plan here, at least for Alabama, was we need to show the country that we're still Alabama, right? Kalen DeBoer also probably is trying to save his job, but whatever. Ty Simpson looked good. I think I saw like 17 of 17 like completions.
Yep.
He completed, obviously he completed all of them, but that's like the most completed completions in Alabama history. So they were looking
Exactly.
good out there.
They were, and then I believe another statistic, Alabama on their first 6 drives just went down and scored touchdowns. So, you know,
Mm.
they're trying to show the world and their fans that they can still be dominant.
Yeah.
Will they continue to be dominant? We'll see in their stronger, games later in the year.
Yeah.
And then we have some gentleman body bags, not shutout, not goose eggs, but still dominant wins. Miami, they ended up beating Bethune-Cookman University 45-3. Carson Beck had 267 passing yards and 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Strong win there. Then you got Oregon playing Oklahoma State. They beat Oklahoma State 69-3. This is a very, very tough look for Mike Gundy.
Yeah.
Yep. And then lastly, you have number 22 Tennessee playing East Tennessee State University. They beat them pretty well, 72-17. This is the most points since before World War II. So
Yeah, I think
pretty
it was like
strong.
1930 something that Tennessee's ever put up this many points.
Yeah, man.
um,
Hey, their offense looks scary.
yeah. Joey Aguilar, he's looking good. I mean, I'll ask you this, Aaron. I mean, this is pretty early in the season. We see this, from year to year. How much do you want to put on tape by scoring this much, Like these teams that are putting up 60, 70 plus points. Are they going deep into their playbook by doing this, or are they just flexing like we have better athletes than you?
I think it's a mixture in a case by case scenario or analysis, but most times I think they just want to show their dominance, get their guys comfortable,
Yeah,
build confidence in their players, and also get reps with some of their second and third string players. But ultimately, it's all about showing that you are the Power Four team. You are the dominant SEC team. You are. So I think that's what it
gotcha.
comes down to.
Okay. All right. Well, while those games didn't really push the needle for people outside of those fan bases, I do want to talk about a game that actually did get the blood flowing. So, last night we had number 15 Michigan visiting number 18 Oklahoma in Norman. They had Trey Young, Ice Trey, as the guest picker on College Game Day. Not gonna lie, I thought some of his picks were questionable, but he's a ball knower. I think I didn't do the final check, but he called out some. He called Mississippi State over Arizona State. So good knowledge there. Anyway, Brent Venables, he was able to ruin Sharon Moore's homecoming back to Norman. Ruin his homecoming night by having the Sooners beat the Wolverines 24-13. These two teams are actually top 5 or 6 in the in all-time winningest teams, but this is only the second time that these two teams have ever played, and actually Oklahoma has won both of those matchups. I wanted to start with the Sooners offense. John Mateer, the quarterback from Washington State, he should be a household name soon enough.
Mm-hmm.
His dual threat ability was put on full display. He had 270 passing yards and 1 touchdown through the air, and he rushed for 74 yards with 2 touchdowns on the ground. So he was actually Oklahoma's leading rusher, and he
Yeah.
was actually out of both teams only the second leading rusher, just only behind Justice Haynes on Michigan's side. So of all the players on the field, he was the second leading rusher.
Yeah, man. It seems
Um,
like, the game is evolving. I mean, we've seen a lot of quarterbacks this year just being able to scramble like really, really well.
yeah, I think I've heard this on other podcasts before, but I think gone are the days of like being a dual threat quarterback, and now it's like you just have to be good at both. You have to be able to improvise. You have to be able to extend plays. Otherwise, defensive linemen are just too good. If you're a statue, they will get you, right?
Yep.
So, one connection that really stuck out to me, the Mateer to Deion Burks connection was looking really good. Deion Burks, he transferred from Purdue a couple years ago. He's been at Oklahoma for I think this is his second year now. He was able to bring in 7 passes for 101 yards, and one of them was a touchdown. Jaron Kanik was also one of his favorite targets, 5 for 69, 5 catches for 69 yards. I mean, I'm glad this team has weapons to surround around Mateer because this offense was very anemic last year. Aaron, there's 2 plays I want to analyze with you. So I'm going to bring them up on YouTube, and then we're going to talk about them. One is a deep ball to Deion Burks, and another one's a very impressive run by John Mateer near the end of the game. Let's start here. So we're looking at this is how the play is set up at the beginning. So what are you seeing on the defensive side, or from the offensive side, whichever side you want to start on? What are you
Sure.
seeing from each side here?
So on the defensive side, I'm seeing, about what is that? 6 guys creeped up on the line, showing that they're gonna, blitz and probably create a problem for the quarterback in the pocket right there. Which makes sense. You want to put pressure on him, not give him much time, potentially cause some chaos, and maybe get a safety. But there is a risk associated with those blitzes, right? When you're blitzing, you can't really run much zone when you're blitzing that many people, so you got to go
Mm-hmm.
man to man.
Mm-hmm.
Going man to man means you're trusting your DBs and your outside linebackers to just be athletes and be able to cover the best of the best, one on one. That being said, nobody can cover anybody just all day. If you're going to blitz, you got to get there fast, and that's something
Yep.
Michigan failed to do. And that's why when you see this play develop fully, you'll see that Burks gets open and it's just an easy lob to him for a deep bomb. You can go ahead and run the rest of the play.
All right.
So again, yeah, blitzing, nothing there. Boom,
Boom.
wide open for the deep bomb.
Nice. Okay. Is there anything Michigan could have done better there?
Execute. You know, if the coach is sending the house, you got to get there. You
Mm,
got to get there, so you're not leaving your DBs that vulnerable for that long.
okay. One guy almost did get there, but just maybe half a second too late.
Yep.
Okay, second play I wanted to take a look at. This is a John Mateer run in the fourth quarter. They had, I'll talk about it in a little bit, but they had a really long drive to kind of hold on to their lead. This run by John Mateer really helped extend that kind of drive. So here we see, a receiver motioning to the top of the screen.
hmm
Yeah, you let me know what you see, Aaron.
Sure. So you can run the play, and I'll kind of talk through it
Okay.
as we watch it. You know, Mateer's kind of running an RPO or a designed run, but he even mentioned in his post game interview, it's hard to game plan for a +1 running back. And that means, having a quarterback who you have to game plan for that can act as another running back and be aggressive and run to gain yards, not run to get what he can. Like it's scary, and I think Oklahoma's going to be a problem for the
Mm,
SEC teams this year, and it's because of players and freak athletes like Mateer.
gotcha. Could they have done? I mean, do they need to set the edge better, or how do you, when you know the quarterback is mobile like John Mateer is, and they didn't really have another running back, like they didn't have a good rushing attack outside of Mateer. What could have
Mhm.
Michigan done better on defense here?
Sure, it's really hard to game plan for somebody like that when he has so many weapons. The best I've seen, or the people who do it best, I've seen the Chiefs, game plan for Lamar Jackson and just have a spy on him the whole game. So
Mm,
maybe teams start doing that and just have somebody keep eyes on him, and your assignment is John
that's his
Mateer.
only job. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Gotcha. So another, we looked at that run by John Mateer. Another impressive stat that doesn't necessarily show up in the stat books. It's a stat that helped seal the victory for Oklahoma. In that fourth quarter, that run was part of it. They had a 16 play 78-yard drive in the fourth quarter that ate up over 8 minutes of clock. That's over half of a quarter for one drive. To me, that just means total command of the offense. John Mateer really has. I mean, he is working with his offensive coordinator that he worked with at Washington State. I think he has a great understanding of what this offense can and can't do, and they were able to beat a decent Michigan defense by playing their own game.
hmm
Um, the one concern I do have about the running game at Oklahoma, I don't think, especially as you get into more SEC play, you don't want to rely on Mateer that much to run the ball. High chance of him getting hurt, and we saw what Oklahoma's offense was last year. We probably don't want to get down to the second guy. Um, Switching to Michigan real quick, Bryce Underwood's lack of experience, it kind of showed its head yesterday. His lack of experience as a true freshman on the road in the SEC. That's tough for anybody. So he only completed 9 of 24 passes with 142 yards. So I think a lot of that shakiness, showed in a lot of the passes that weren't getting to where they needed to go. And then there was that video of him arguing with Justice Haynes on the sideline. Not sure why he would be doing that. Haynes was like the only spark on offense they really had. They were shut out in the first half. Michigan was for the first time since 2020, since COVID started. So, credit to Oklahoma's defense. They were very aggressive. They blitzed and applied pressure steady and often. Clearly, it made Underwood, uncomfortable, like I mentioned, with the stats that I mentioned before. Michigan only had 288 total yards the whole night. There's two plays here on defense that Oklahoma's defense, that I wanted to share with you, Aaron. And then we could see, what Oklahoma's doing well to bother the freshman quarterback so much.
The
All right.
first thing I noticed on this play right here, right? Looks like you had a receiver coming in motion, but like,
Mm-hmm.
look how many people are creeped up on the line for Oklahoma. They got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe is that 6 or 7 on one? Six,
Uh, I'm seeing
yes.
five, and then this one guy up top.
And so they're almost daring you to do something else besides run the ball. We're ready. We have the edges here. We're daring you to try to throw the ball, and so they send the guy in motion. You can play the play. Um, there's a little bit of a misdirection going on, but as you can see,
They just swarm
Oklahoma's
them.
defense, they're aggressive. They're swarming, they're aggressive, but they're disciplined, right? The backside of that play, the defense is still swarming, but they're making sure that nothing else is going to come back in their direction and get upfield on them. So just outstanding, like aggressive play, causing chaos on defense, but also staying disciplined, staying in your lane and ensuring nothing gets outside of you.
So if Bryce Underwood, he's the play caller here. What should he recognize, seeing what Oklahoma's showing him, and what audible can he call? What other option could he go for here?
Sure. I mean, I don't know if he's necessarily the play caller. Maybe he is. Maybe the OC isn't. But I'm thinking if somebody's daring you to space them out and they have that many people creeped up on the line, hey, do some play action, not even just a misdirection run. Like, you know, bluff a run and throw something over their heads if they're going to have that many people creeped up on the line. You got to keep defenses honest, and you got to keep them honest by having that well-balanced attack where you are going over their heads but also being effective running the ball as well.
Gotcha. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And then one other play I wanted to focus on the Oklahoma defense. So this one will be a pass to Justice Haynes, and Oklahoma just blows it up. You let me know what you see here, and then I'll start the play.
Sure. So, first things first, you see Michigan's got like 4 receivers lined up on the left-hand side, so it's like a quad set. Um, Immediately, Oklahoma matches their energy. They bring 4 people over to that side of the ball just to be ready for either some man-to-man or, some type of zone, but they have enough people to support the formation strength. Like you said, they're running a bubble screen to Haynes, and the DB on this play just goes untouched. He goes past 3 people and he just blows up the play. So aggressive read by the DB, but I think it's a blown up play, and Michigan's receivers did not do a good job to protect Haynes, and he pays for their mistake. I think.
Gotcha. So the
Mm-hmm.
receiver should have been doing a better job blocking the ones that knew
Blocking.
they weren't going to get the ball.
Yep. You got to be aware of no matter who's going to take who in that coverage, somebody's coming to try to blow up that screen.
Got it. Overall, Michigan's defense was pretty decent. They had 2 turnovers. Standout player from last night's defense was definitely Ernest Hausman. He had 11 total tackles. And so the result is what the result is. I think moving forward, both of these teams will definitely see similar, levels of competition and spotlight as they head into their conference schedules. I think Oklahoma definitely needed this spark. Brent Venables, we've talked about what his, kind of hot seat was looking like. And I'm glad to see, their offense matching the tenacity of their defense. Michigan is kind of in a rebuild mode, so they can use this as a test to see where they need to focus and build around Bryce Underwood. He's definitely a bright spot and a lot of potential there.
Yeah. Okay. Good points. Good points. Next on the list, another game that kind of got your blood flowing. A good one to watch, an exciting one to watch. UCLA visiting UNLV at Allegiant Stadium, home of the Raiders. So,
who won this game, Aaron? I think you called it.
Hey, I just want to say, I told you so. This was a game to watch. UNLV beat UCLA 30-23, marking their first win over a Big Ten opponent in like over 22 years. So just crazy statistic. First, I want to give shout out to UNLV's quarterback, Anthony Calandria. He had a breakout performance. threw for over 200 yards and had 3 touchdowns. So he showed a lot of poise and precision. UNLV also had a running back that racked up, 106 yards and 1 touchdown. So they had a pretty balanced attack that kept UCLA's defense on its heels.
Mm-hmm.
The Bruins were down 23-3 at halftime. So they were struggling to, get the offense going, and they looked very, very disjointed.
Yeah, I mean, Nico is Nico, but like that offensive line cannot do anything to protect him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's showing. It's lessening his potential impact,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so with that being said, I think they found a rhythm going in the second half. They mounted, 20 second half points, but ultimately they couldn't close the gap.
Mm-hmm.
Despite outgaining UNLV in total yards, they struggled to convert in the red zone, and they had some third down efficiency that was kind of poor. Came down to the last drive, the last seconds of the game. UCLA was in the red zone. Nico was passing the ball with 52 seconds left. The UNLV linebacker, Marcel McDuffie, he was the only returning starter on defense for UNLV. Tipped the pass up, and his nickelback, Brown, snatched it right out of the air, and that basically sealed the victory for UNLV. Yeah. It was a statement win for the team, statement win for Dan Mullen. They're now 3-0, and they're proving that they can hang with a lot of Power 4 teams.
Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, here's my hot take for the game, right?
Okay.
They beat UCLA. They're 3-0. The rest of the schedule looks kind of cake. This puts Dan Mullen in a good position to lead his team to great success, maybe a playoff berth, but also potentially make his case to be a contender for any, Power 4 job that opens in this offseason.
You think 1 year he's one and done here?
I mean, if he goes undefeated, gets a playoff berth, makes a little bit of noise, I feel like why not? He's a guy who's coached on that level before, and
right.
To lead a team to continuous success this fast, I mean, that'd be awesome.
You think SEC or Big Ten? What do you think?
He may try to mix it up and go Big Ten. His predecessor, he's now the head coach for Purdue, so
Barry
maybe
Odom,
the
right?
Big. Yeah, I think so. Yep, and maybe the Big Ten will pluck another coach from UNLV by the end of the season.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right. So we'll move along to some other games. We have some powerhouses, some traditional powerhouses that used this week 2 to kind of, or they had some trouble. They had some trouble in week 2. They both won their game, so we want to focus on UGA and Texas here. UGA, what stuck out to me, the lack of explosiveness. And look, I mean, I understand. We talked about game plan earlier. We understand that UGA is playing. Austin Peay, not a world beater in terms of college football. But Stockton, he only completed 76%, he completed 76% of his passes, but averaged under 9 yards per completion. His longest throw was 19 yards. The reason I bring up the game plan is, like, I understand you don't want to put too much on tape before you get into your SEC play, and that sort of thing. But if that is the game plan, why were there so many instances of wide receivers and tight ends being open, right? And if they are going to be open, why not just hit them? Like, get that rep in. Why not? If I saw it on TV, then I'm sure Josh Heupel will see it on tape when he's doing his review over UGA for next week, right? So Stockton, he failed to connect on deep passes, and he missed several wide open receivers downfield. Not sure what's going on in Stockton's head. Hopefully it's not, like a confidence thing, but maybe he was just following the game plan a little too closely. I don't know. I also want to recognize that, Georgia's offensive line is super banged up already. We called it out that offensive line is a area of not contention, but area of worry for this team. They're really going down the depth chart here already. But one other thing that really was concerning. Georgia reached Austin Peay's 1 yard line, but could not score on 5 tries. And I want to keep harping back to this game plan thing. I don't think it's a game plan to not be able to score from the 1 yard line against a team you're like 80, 90 pounds more heavier than, right? So
Yep.
I think that still goes back to the offensive line not being able to provide that push. Stockton only had 13 rushing yards on 5 carries. So, he offered little dual threat impact. We know his capabilities, but he wasn't really diving into that dual threat bag. I will say, though, like, the first 3 quarters were a struggle to watch. But the fourth quarter, it seemed like they just kind of said, all right, we need to put this one to bed. Forget the game plan. Let's just go win. And it seemed like the machine was working a little better in the fourth quarter. I think Stockton, he admitted, in his post game, he needs to be more confident and improve his comfort level in this offense. But does this cause any concern for you? Obviously, we are UGA fans. UGA is going to Tennessee, big game next weekend as they start their SEC kind of schedule. Does this cause any concern for you for the Dogs headed up to Knoxville?
Yeah, to be transparent, absolutely. Tennessee looks like a team that's ready to score at will, and Georgia has a great defense, but I feel like in games like this where you face a great offense, you're going to give up some points. So your offense has to respond and be able to score with the best. So hopefully, they figure it out and the concern goes away this week, coming weeks, somehow. My question for you is, I heard you talking about the struggles of Stockton. Who do you think that is to blame? Last year, Carson Beck, we saw he had some struggles on offense, and it felt like everybody was pointing the finger at him. So my question is the finger, the point of blame, is it the quarterback again? Is it, the offensive coordinator, Mike Bobo, or is it the supporting cast around Gunner?
The supporting cast, well, all of the cast also includes, like, the best wide receivers, transfer room of wide receivers that transferred in, right? So that supporting cast is there. I don't think there's any issues there. I think the offensive line is a struggle room. I know Mike Bobo is great to point your finger at. I imagine he only listens to what Kirby Smart says, right? Like, if Kirby Smart wants to play a game a certain way, yesterday, we live in Georgia. It's been raining. You are playing a smaller school before you head into your SEC schedule. You don't want to open up the playbook. So Mike Bobo is only listening to what Kirby Smart says, right? So there's only so much blame that you can put on him. Maybe we'll see as we get into the bigger games what Mike Bobo decides to do, how he decides to utilize Gunner Stockton. But it's hard to point the finger at Bobo right now. I think more so it's the lack of effort on the offensive line and making Stockton do things he's not confident in doing just yet.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, great points. So moving on to our next powerhouse that had some woes this weekend. Let's talk about Texas.
Yeah.
So, they're facing, I think it was San Jose State this weekend. They started out with 2 straight punts and just 12 yards of offense on their first 2 drives. So the continuation of the sluggish start from week 1 against Ohio State, it was there, right? A lot of drop passes throughout the game, especially from Wingo, and he's supposed to be the veteran of the team and a player that Arch can depend on. So yeah, the first half and everything, and the first couple of drives are very slow, but then came the explosion. 28 unanswered points in under 5 minutes. They were fueled by 3 straight defensive takeaways.
Yeah.
All right. So they really got it going. Manning capitalized on the 4 touchdown passes, including a 83-yard bomb to Parker Livingstone.
Livingston.
Livingston.
Yeah.
The longest one, longest TD pass from Texas since 2017. He hit 2 touchdown passes to him, and then 2 touchdown passes to the tight end. I think his name is Andreas. Injuries. So, he's the transfer from Cal. He's proving that he's clearly a good replacement for Gunnar Helm so far. Mm-hmm. Despite the scoring spree, though, Manning threw a costly interception in the red zone. A mistake he called, sloppy and emblematic of his inefficiency, right? Um, After the scoring spree, the game plan was just to keep away. Not much scoring happened after that.
Yeah.
Run the clock out, do what you can. Um, my overall take from the game, Manning, his talent is undeniable, but it's all about his rhythm and decision making. That's still a work in progress. And
Yeah.
as we get further into the schedule and he plays, tougher SEC defenses, these hiccups could be costly.
Yeah,
So,
I think the defense, like giving them really short fields back to back to back,
mhm.
it obviously helped with the scoring. And he's not necessarily going to get that in those SEC games all the time. And yeah, I think there's a little bit left to be seen for Arch, but I'm
Mhm.
glad he had the opportunity to kind of gain his confidence and gain some momentum this week. It's hard to start, week one as a starter at Ohio State, right? So I'm glad he was able to kind of get this opportunity before. I think they have another, quote unquote cupcake game before they get into their SEC schedule. So I'm glad he had that opportunity to do that, and I'm glad the defense wasn't rattled by two poor drives to start the game. I'm glad the
Yep.
defense was there to kind of help bring their quarterback along. Okay, so again, we want to keep ourselves honest here. We want to talk about how we did in our picks last week. We missed on a few. We missed on Florida. We did mention that if they don't contain Byron Brown, that they would have a long day, and that's essentially what happened. Florida will actually be one of our will be one of our Saturday teams that we'll talk about in a little bit.
Mhm.
We missed on Michigan. We thought Michigan would be able to get the dub, but honestly, it looks like Oklahoma looks to be one of the most improved teams since last year, so far at least. And so that was a we missed on that one. Wanted to give a shout out to Aaron on UNLV. He called that one out. I didn't necessarily feel strongly one way or another, but clearly he did, and he got that one right. I got one right that Aaron got wrong. Diego Pavia, that's my guy. Vanderbilt beat Virginia Tech. So
Yep.
those are kind of how we did for our picks from last week.
Mhm. All right, and so I know you mentioned, the Saturday segment, so let's get into that. To the fans out there who've never seen the show before, Saturday is a segment we are now doing. We're talking about teams and just some of the losses, quote unquote, they've had this weekend that potentially made them have the saddest Saturday. The team doesn't necessarily have to lose the game, but it's just things that happened that ultimately made them the biggest loser of the weekend. So we have four teams, and we're going to pair them up against each other, and we're going to see statistically wise who had the Saturday. So we got, Florida, Arizona State, UCLA, and Clemson. Mash, do you want to start us off for the tournament?
Yeah, so just a little bit more background. Florida had probably the worst upset of the weekend, so they get the number one seed.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona, UCLA, Clemson. We kind of put them. We seeded them as we thought fit because we are the committee and we get to do that. If you have watched the show before, one thing you'll notice is last time we did 8 teams, we went ahead and cut the playoffs in half because we feel like the playoffs was too big. And you should be a really sad team in order to be able to make the playoffs. This is not a cupcake playoffs like the CFP. Okay, so in any case, we'll start with 1 versus 4. So we have first seed Florida against number 4 seed Clemson. Aaron, I will ask you this: Florida had 11 penalties for 103 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Clemson, while they did win the game, they struggled obviously to start the game, but they only had 27 minutes of time of possession against a bad Troy team. So I'll ask you this, Aaron: who had the Saturday?
Sure. Absolutely. I'm gonna have to go with Florida. 103 yards of penalties. That's crazy. Ultimately, they lost the game in one possession. So I feel like that was a key contributor to why they're gonna win this matchup right here versus Clemson. Clemson still won the game.
Okay. All right, and then so we have Arizona State and UCLA seeds 2 and 3. Arizona State, the opposing team only had the ball for 22 minutes. So Arizona State played Mississippi State. Mississippi State only had the ball for 22 minutes, but Arizona State still lost. UCLA, they started the game 23-0. They started 23 points in the hole. So Aaron, between these two teams, who had the Saturday here?
How much is UCLA paying Nico?
A lot.
Yeah, a lot, right? And so I'm sorry, but if you're gonna have a star and you pay a star that much, I hate to say it, but it doesn't matter how much their supporting guys cast supports them. A goose egg in the first, start of the game against the team you're supposed to beat. I'm gonna have to pick UCLA there.
Gotcha. Okay, so then our final matchup is number 1 Florida versus number 3 UCLA. Aaron, do you want to take the finals here?
Sure.
So Florida had 34 minutes time of possession at home against University of South Florida. So they had the ball for more than half the game. UCLA had 14 penalties for 129 yards. So I think we talked about it earlier. It was a somewhat close game, but they had over an entire field's worth of penalties. So, Aaron, for the Saturday team of the week, saddest team of the week, who wins? Number 1 Florida or number 3 UCLA?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually have to go with the number 3 seed UCLA here. Like you said, that amount of penalties and yards is kind of crazy. And then to add on to that, another statistic, they have yet to get their first win of the season. So I feel like that kind of, is going to disgruntle the team a lot and really make them question themselves, who they are as, UCLA.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right, so UCLA is our Saturday team of the week. And that pretty much wraps up our week 2 review. So we will come back Thursday and we will do a week 3 preview. We're going to do a deep dive into UGA going up to Tennessee. And we're also going to do a deep dive for Texas A&M at Notre Dame. If we see any underdog games to watch, any underdogs that have good value against the opponent that they're playing against, we'll call those out. And we'll give a highlight overview of all the other games for week 3. So appreciate you guys watching this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Once again, this is Mashfik. This is my co-host Aaron, and we will see you for week 3.